Okay. Anyway, so back to Klay Thompson. Like I said, in front of the Golden State crowd, going freaking nuts. Wish I would have had him in fantasy because he scored 80 some points. My dog is chewing something.
88.
What's that?
Hey, 88. And remember when that guy in our league tried to trade for Klay Thompson, and he was like, "Look, I'll give you Luke Mbamute for him."
I do think it was. Who was it for real? I think it was.
It was something ridiculous. It was maybe Wes Matthews, but I feel like he was wanting to get a better draft pick or something too. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, his logic was, I'll trade you Wes Matthews in like a 7th for Klay Thompson in a 5th because I'm the one that's. No, it wasn't even a salary thing because Klay Thompson's making less than Wes. Yeah, I don't understand. I didn't understand any of the logic in that deal.
Well, a lot of the trades he's trying to make doesn't make sense, but
this is a great point. This is a really great point.
Very, 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 very true. So
shout out to Boogie Land.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of trades that need to happen in our league, Ben, you want to trade me Kawhi? This is the moment. This is the moment to step up and do it.
Do it on the podcast.
On the very first P3P Talks NBA podcast.
Look. Whatever he offers, I'll offer you Kevin Love. All right, sounds like a good deal.
Are you offering him Kevin Love straight up?
Yeah.
I've already made you $1 billion offers. You just pick which one, Ben. Except, well, I never offered you anything with Andre Drummond. Yeah, not the Andre Drummond deal.
Carter Williams.
I'll still do Dirk Beal in a 2nd round for Kawhi.
Straight up.
Somebody and a pick. I mean, I'll go straight up on that.
Yeah, it can't be straight up because of salary. Well, I don't know. Maybe you have a ton of cap space.
The salary works for me.
Anyway, this is boring. Nobody cares about this.
Yeah. Anyway, so moving on to the next thing. Enough about Klay Thompson. It was awesome. It was nuts. He didn't miss anything. Then we got some big injuries, and we'll just talk about the ones that we want to talk about because you guys mentioned a couple. But let's start with the one we all care about, which was Brandon Jennings going down, torn Achilles, out for the rest of the year, out for the next 9 months, really. Big blow. The Pistons have been playing real well after, parting ways with Josh Smith. So your thoughts on the Brandon Jennings injury?
Quick, name their third point guard right now.
Spencer Dinwiddie.
The Pistons?
Yeah, good job, brother. Spencer Dinwiddie. That's their problem right now.
Well, Augustine has been playing like 37 minutes a night. He's playing a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, well, that's what he played 37 minutes tonight, and he was 0 for 7.
Yeah,
he was horrible.
But what
I heard a rumor today.
All right.
That sounded interesting for them. They called Isaiah Thomas and said, "Would you please play with us?"
Like retired Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, not the one who's already on the team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's considering.
Well, the thing is that the past 2 games where Augustine has started, he's played ridiculous. Like, I think he averaged like 25 points and almost 10 assists, and I mean was putting up. But I guess with a guy who's not used to playing that many minutes, having to do that night in and night out, like he's going to have his duds.
But it was also a defensive juggernaut they were playing tonight.
Yeah, the 76ers. Dude, I actually watched the first quarter and a half of that game. I love watching the Sixers because they're young, they're athletic.
Yeah, they are fun to watch.
It's sloppy, but
young,
but it's fun to watch. Like, and turnovers killed that team. But you know who had the most turnovers? I think for them in the first half, Anthony Tolliver. The fact that Anthony Tolliver was even getting a significant amount of minutes to turn the ball over as much as he did is asinine to me. But like, there were so many passes that he tried to make that should have been real crisp, like out on the perimeter, and they look slow as crap. Like I feel like I could have jumped them, and but I think like KJ McDaniels had I think 4 steals in the first half just off of Anthony Tolliver passes.
Yeah, I was loving that too.
And
did you play him tonight?
No.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, there's Caldwell Pope got hurt too tonight. I don't know if it was anything significant or if he even sat out the rest of the game for it. But like, is Dinwiddie? I'm about to look up how many minutes Dinwiddie got tonight.
I don't think Dinwiddie played much.
But that was huge. Brandon Jennings was playing awesome this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It does stink because they've been fun to watch, I think, since they got rid of Smith. And
well, and let's see, there was also Drummond played 19 minutes. I think he was in foul trouble that whole entire game too. Dinwiddie played 13. He played better than DJ Augustine because he went 1 for 6. And let's see, I'm looking. He had 2 assists, a steal, a block, a turnover, where Augustine had 3 turnovers. But yeah, how many turnovers did Tolliver? It says Tolliver only had 1 turnover. I doubt it. But I mean, if they can.
Well, I was gonna say this too about Augustine. Like, he did play some big minutes for Chicago last year and put up decent numbers.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think
he's a great. I think he's got the potential to be just a great backup, but that's
they got to get another guard.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I guess there's a way that they could swing with Meeks and Augustine and Caldwell Pope just kind of rotating around with ball handling responsibilities, but like.
No, I don't like it.
But when the 4th dude off your bench that can play guard is Caron Butler.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, too, like, do you think they're kind of like, man, we can have Josh Smith be our third backup point guard now?
They're calling Houston up. They're like, we'll pay the $6 million we owe him for waiving him, and then we'll pay the $2 million that we owe him that he's under contract for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're probably regretting that.
It sucks because the other thing with Jennings is he's just fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that like we all kind of laughed when I don't know. I guess it was the beginning of December, and they were like massively under 500, and there was a Hoops Hype story about them saying they were still in the hunt for the Eastern Conference playoffs. And I remember calling you and laughing about that. But then they made they waived Josh Smith and turned it around, and they really were in the playoff hunt. They still are in the playoff hunt. And like, if they can make a move and get another guard in there, I think they could still potentially make some noise in the playoffs, especially if Augustine can play like he did the last 2 games and not tonight's game.
Well, a couple things. One, the Lakers are in the playoff hunt in the East. That's how bad the East is. Second, it doesn't matter. Like they're not getting past Atlanta, Toronto. Like, as ridiculous as that sounds, like I don't think they have a chance against any of the top 3 or 4 teams in the East. So it does suck, but at the same time, it's like, man, maybe the route is not to care about the rest of this year. Get a better draft pick and have another piece for next year.
Right. Is there a guard out there right now they can make a move for?
I don't know if they have a piece to move unless you move Monroe. And you don't want to really do that either.
Because he's been playing great since
who do they have?
Josh Smith Wade.
Yeah. Well, who do they have to give up? Like, I just don't see anything on that team that's. There's some like guys that are playing in China right now that could be interesting with them. And right now, of course, I can't think of any of them. But like Bobby Brown, There's somebody else too that I think. Oh, another guy that would be interesting with them is not a Chinese player, but Nate Robinson.
Yeah, that's true.
I think I would still start Augustine, but yeah. So I don't know, but I don't think he would want to go there. I think he wants to go to a team that's contending.
Is there a way you could trade Monroe? I know you said that they wouldn't want to, but trade Monroe to OKC to get Reggie Jackson and Kendrick Perkins.
Well, one, they're taking back a lot of salary. You got to remember Monroe's only making $5 this year, so you're taking Jackson, who's making
$2.5.
Well, what, close to $2.5, and then you've got Perkins, who's making like $400 because his salary is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So some other piece would have to be in that deal too. And again, they have those kind of pieces they can move in that deal, but I don't know. That could be interesting for OKC, but I don't think it really helps. I don't think it really helps Detroit.
Right, because I mean, we can't forget that Anthony Tolliver came in first off the bench in the front court for them. So,
well, I mean, Tolliver's an interesting stretch guy next to Drummond, I think. And I'm not saying that like I know Tolliver's not that great, but you put him next to Drummond, and he's it's not that ridiculous.
Right. So the other big injury.
I'll probably get made fun of for that comment, but I believe it.
The other big injury news is Kobe Bryant out for the next 9 months with a torn rotator cuff. It seems like this.
Hey, is that the kicker for the Falcons?
It just seems like this has kind of been the main headline anytime you search the word Kobe, some sort of injury going on. And I mean, there was going to come a point where Kobe was just going to rest the rest of the season anyway, probably, with where they are in the standings and how bad that whole team is. So this just kind of forced it. But Ben, is this the end for Kobe?
I think so. I don't see. I mean, I feel like it should have been the end 2 seasons ago. Like I feel like he should have just hung it up. I feel like he's just trying to cling to like having that title of. He wants to have that title of best basketball, best NBA player of all time. And I think he's still in that talk. I mean, of the higher people, but I feel like he's hurting that reputation by saying, "I'm just gonna hang on. I just want to keep playing." And I don't know. I don't understand it personally. But
Les?
Let him do what he wants to do if he loves it. So let him go.
He's making like $24 million a year, so that's one of the reasons why you gotta love that cash.
Oh, yeah, keep getting checks. That's fine.
I think I'm just saying this. I haven't heard this lately with him. But could all these injuries that he's been having be linked to the fact that he's I don't know, with the PED stuff, like through the years, he's been kind of linked to like the weird knee stuff overseas, and like is his body deteriorating because of substances he's put in his body? And again, like, I don't really care if he is, because he's awesome, but it does seem like he's always hurt and something's always going on with him. So
well, the only reason that I would
he's super old.
Well, the only reason that I would say it not PEDs is because he goes out of his way to do all this weird experimental stuff. Like it's easier just to say I'm going to take PEDs and get over it rather than I'm going to go to Germany and do some weird frozen hyperbaric chamber knee relief. But the Lakers fan argument would be he's going to stick around because he's hyper competitive. and he wants to leave when the Lakers. He wants to leave on top with the Lakers. But the realistic answer is what you said, Les. With like he's getting paid $24 million next year. Why are you going to walk away from that? And you can't make an argument that he's hyper competitive and wants to go out on top, while also saying that because of what he's done in the past for the Lakers, he shouldn't have to take a pay cut. Like,
well, I'll tell you this though, like for real, you give me Kobe as my point guard, I'll take it.
For what price?
I mean, I'm not trying to pay anybody. I don't have that much money. Like, I got like $15 maybe, but I think, but seriously, like when he is ball handling Kobe, that's like running the offense, taking 12 shots a game. Like he's an interesting, and we said that 3 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The year that he was like, all right, I'm not scoring anymore. I'm just passing. I'm going to get 16 assists a game. That's the best Kobe we've seen in 5 years.
And the thing is, like that Kobe's still fun to watch because he's such a good passer. And I don't know,
well, but at this point, like if he was
I don't
healthy,
think we should
like,
talk
who
as
would
much
he invest
about
to?
Kobe.
Robert Sacre, Wes Johnson.
The thing is, he could get Robert Sacre looks.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, I don't think we need to talk about that much. I mean, it's the Lakers. Like they're horrible.
Yeah,
they're horrible.
Yeah. All right, and then
Can I interject with this?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Can I interject with a small point before we move on to the next person?
Yeah. What's up?
It has to do with 2K. I just did a trade that was ridiculous.
All right.
And I think it's worth having on the podcast. I traded Drew Gordon and a first-round pick this year for Jabari Parker and a first-round pick this year.
What?
Who is?
Yeah.
Wait. Say that again.
For the Sixers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. The trade logic's.
I don't know how I got that.
But
I'm sorry. I had to interrupt for just a little bit.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But then a couple other injuries that we mentioned before the show. You had the injury to Kemba Walker. He's out for 6 weeks with some knee surgery going on. That sucks for Charlotte because there was a stretch of games, when Lance Stevenson was hurt and Jefferson and Kemba were in the lineup together, where they kind of looked like the team that made the playoffs last year.
Well, and name their third point guard.
You've got Brian Roberts, and then I have no idea.
Yeah, it's one of the Pargas, I think.
But he's hurt too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's hurt.
Oh.
Did he play tonight?
Their third point guard is Mark Price.
What's that?
I said, so their third point guard is Mark Price.
Yeah. And they got a lot of guys on that team that can handle the ball.
Yeah, that's true.
With Stevenson and Gary Neal. They don't necessarily need a true point guard out there all the time. But I mean, with as murky as stuff has been with Lance Stevenson, Kemba's the lead. Kemba and Al Jefferson are the leaders of that team. And for Kemba to be out for 6 weeks.
Well, that team struggles to score. Kemba can create. He can because he can get to the basket. He can create looks for other people. They don't have any of that.
Here, I was gonna let me just
not like Kemba.
Let me just walk you through my flow of thought here, because my thought was okay, Kemba goes down. That means the trade strategy for Stevenson's going to become a little bit different because you're just kind of in sell mode to win, not to win immediately, but to build for the future. But then I thought, Kemba being out 6 weeks, they could still be in the playoff line in the East.
Yeah.
So it puts teams in a weird
But
spot
again-
trying to trade for Stevenson. We'll talk about that later. But like, it puts Charlotte in a weird spot to decide like, are we going to try for that 8th seed to get blown out by Atlanta, or are we just going to say, okay, Kemba's out 6 weeks. We're gonna trade for the future with Stevenson, not try to really get back any pieces that are going to help us win right now.
I think again, like that's another thing. Like, not that you want to tank, but what do you feel like you really can do? What's realistic for them? And I like some of their pieces. I like some of their young guys. Like they're an interesting team, but they're still like a player or two away, and that player or two is not going to happen this year. And by a player or two away, I don't mean like championship. I mean just be from like to be middle of the road Eastern Conference playoff.
Can you remember?
Team.
Can you remember another team that we went into a season thinking like, okay, they were decent last year. They made some moves that are going to make them pretty good this year, and then like just such a letdown.
But see, like, I mean, who was anybody really crazy about the Stevenson move? And what was their other move? Marvin Williams? Like, again, nobody's crazy about that. And they did get Jason Maxiell, which I know is Ben's boy, but
Yeah, I don't really care.
he just played with Orlando. So
Yeah.
My thing is
But
they were an Al Jefferson injury away last year from making that Miami series pretty interesting.
no, they weren't.
Are you kidding me? Well, you said that yourself. Like that series would have been a totally different series. Maybe not in result,
Oh,
but in matchup and
well,
competitiveness.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
a guy
okay.
like Stevenson,
That's different.
who kind of wild card does a little bit of everything. If he could have came down and been the Indiana Pacers Lance Stevenson, that makes matchups.
No,
even
I
more
agree.
interesting.
I agree. Like Jefferson would have made that series, like it would have made Charlotte more competitive, and like that was the one thing I feel like. And we went to a couple Hornets games last year, like or whatever they were last year, Bobcats or.
Yeah.
Jefferson was disgusting. Like he was throwing up shots with one hand, like from the bench and making it. Like it was ridiculous. Nobody could guard him.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, and I think Stevenson. But I don't know. Like I wasn't crazy about their moves. They're one thing they don't have is shooting. Like Kemba is good as. I love Kemba, but he's not that great of a shooter, 3-point shooter. Like Stevenson, same way. Like I love Gary Neal, but which by the way, Ben, did you know Gary Neal is rated a C 3-point shooter on 2K? What in the world is the deal with that?
How is he not like an A+++? Like you can't miss with him.
Exactly, like 3 pluses should be what he gets, but for some reason he doesn't. Like he is rated a C, and Bismack Biyombo is rated a F. Like he should be so much worse than that if he's a C.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways,
I digress.
yeah.
Okay, there was one other guy
The
that
Kemba
we
trade.
mentioned, but I can't remember who it was. So we're gonna move on.
I know who it was.
Oh,
Okay, that's fine. I know who it was, Drew Holiday, but that's okay.
oh yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, that's kind of old news though. So we're gonna move on. Kyrie had a big night, had a career night. Les, you have him on your fantasy team, so I'm going to go to your thing to read his stat line here. 17 for 36, 10 of 10 from the line, scored 55 points, made 11 threes, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 3 turnovers for 80 fantasy points for you tonight.
But hold on, let me look and see if I had him on the bench. Nope, he was playing.
Shocking, because I feel like anytime one of your guys has a really huge night, well, not anytime, but you had Hassan Whiteside on the bench Sunday, and he played great.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Can I say this though? I've put up 200 points 3 times in the last week.
all right, we're going to go to the Duke-Homer here to brag on Kyrie for a few minutes. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say Kyrie is all that's advertised. He's very amazing. I mean, I can't think of somebody that I'd rather have at point guard on a team if I was a GM than Kyrie. I feel like he's young, he's talented, he's got a good head on his shoulders, he's willing to learn, has nights like this.
Yeah.
Which he's never had a night like this before, but
Yeah, I too.
I mean, I feel like his potential is ridiculous.
I too can't think of another point guard I'd rather have if I was a GM in a league that didn't have Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook.
By the way, I also have Russell Westbrook on my fantasy team,
and
that other great point guard, Aaron Brooks. Let's say this though. Let's make this disclaimer. LeBron was
right,
out tonight.
Yeah. And you want to know what the thing that shocked me the most is that Kyrie had this huge night and Cleveland won. Because when you texted me and I saw a stat line, I didn't look at the score at first because I was fully convinced that he was going to score 55 points and they were going to have lost because that's how Kyrie is with Cleveland. Like,
do you think? No, yeah, you're right. But you didn't follow the game then early?
No.
Well, it seemed like they really tried to get Kevin Love involved early. He had a really good first quarter, but then he finished shooting 3 of 15. So he finished strong. So it was kind of disappointing to see them get Love involved and then him do what he's been doing. I feel like that's starting off hot, but then just kind of fading as the game goes on.
The fact that Kyrie had his best game in his career against a point guard who is one of the better all-around point guards in the league.
Whoa. Damian Lillard is not a good defender.
I think he's good enough to be in that talk of best all around.
Like he didn't do this against DJ Augustine, and he did it against a team that defensively. Well, actually, no, they're pretty injury riddled right now. Did Batum play tonight?
Yeah, Lopez is hurt. Who?
Batum was out, wasn't he?
I don't know. Lopez is out too.
And then Aldridge is hurt, even though he played. Like, so maybe it's not that surprising. But it was that night. The fact that he scored way over half of their points tonight too was pretty awesome.
Well, I don't think Lillard is better. I will stand beside that. The other thing, I think he's gotten them. Well, I don't even know if he's gotten that much better. But that team also on the road, playing on the East Coast. I don't know. Like it was just a weird game.
Yeah. So Kyrie, huge night. LeBron was out. On to the next thing. Moving on. And NBA All-Star Weekend is going to be coming up. So as far as All-Stars go for you, let's just go position by position in the conference. So starters, like who are the best two guards in your opinion in the Eastern Conference? Either one of y'all.
All right, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't hear a word you just said.
Oh, I said we're going to go position by position. So the two best guards in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference.
Oh gosh, see, this is so hard for me because I feel like I become my wife with questions like this, and I'll pick 5 people.
Well, we know Ben's going to be like, okay, I'm going to pick Kyrie, and he's not a guard, but Mason Plumlee.
Okay, well, so 2 from the East and 2 from the West,
yep,
right?
At the guard, point guard or shooting guard.
Okay. I kind of want to. It's hard because there are 2 guards for fantasy that all year I've wanted that have been really solid, and I don't know if they're starter quality, but they are definitely all-star quality. But Jeff Teague in the East and Conley in the West. But I think in the West, Harden and Curry would be the two starters.
Yeah,
to me.
I don't think there's really like any debate in the West. Those are your two starters. They're both having career years. Like, and it's night in, night out. Like Curry doesn't have duds. Harden doesn't have duds. Like Conley has duds.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like you wouldn't have Chris Paul far behind either, though.
But Chris Paul's had his duds.
Yeah.
You know, like Chris Paul's had several nights this year where he's just he hasn't shot the ball well. Like he's turned the ball over. He's had several games where he's had like 6 or 7 turnovers, and like Curry doesn't put those nights up. You know, Curry's going to put up 25, 7, and you know, super efficient, and Harden's just all over the place, nasty. In the East,
and I'll tell you, well, let's say this too. And
no, I agree with Harden. I wouldn't take. I mean, I feel like Curry and Harden are both like right there.
The guard that I would have above Paul.
Oh,
but here's a guy I would have above Paul would be Westbrook. I mean, he's had some really poor shooting nights, but that dude just tenacious, like defender and looking close to a triple double like every night. I really think Westbrook any other year would probably be one of the two guards, but Curry and Harden have just been unreal.
Yeah. In the East, for me, I would probably go. See, this is tough too, because I feel like I feel like the only one who's been consistent from the outset of the season has been Teague. Like every night, you know what you're getting from Teague, even though you know he plays for the Hawks and there's really no one on that team getting 30 minutes a game like other point guards in the East. But he's been the most consistent, and then. It's a toss-up between Wall and Lowry. I'd probably go Wall.
Yeah, me too.
Because Lowry had like a 3-week stretch where, and I think he's still coming out of that little stretch of like where he just hasn't been efficient, and so again, Wall being the more consistent option of the two. So I'm gonna have to go with Wall and Jeff Teague.
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, I agree. Although Ben, thoughts on Ben Gordon? What do you think about him in the East?
Yeah, I think he's a potential All-Star. Nah.
Well, and
is there anybody you can name on Orlando? I mean, his name is not Vucevic or Toby.
Are you kidding me? Are you really asking me this question?
No, I'm not saying like name people on the roster. I'm saying like even having an All-Star talk.
Yeah, there's nobody except Vucevic.
Yeah, and I mean that's like you on like a great night you might say Oladipo has potential in his career to be an All-Star, but there, I mean.
Okay, we're in an All-Star conversation talking about Victor Oladipo for real. Here's another thing in the East, and I know this guy can be a guard or a forward, but you also have Jimmy Butler, who started high and hasn't kept up what he started out, but he's still playing very solid.
What about Giannis?
If I want to see Giannis in the All-Star game just to be able to see him play against zero defense and see how many times he dunks from the three-point line.
I was thinking a half-court line. But
if you take off from behind the three-point line and don't touch the ground, does it count as 3 points?
Yes.
Wait, did you mean 3-point line like on the other side of the half?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay, so you get 3 forward center slots per conference. This one's
This one's what?
I was going to say this one I think is a little tougher.
For the West is pretty easy, I think.
Yeah.
With the guards. Forward, center. See, like, are we basing this just off stats this year, or like just the best players?
We're basing it off of, I mean, I would say we're basing it off of best players. I mean, stats matter. The best players are going to put up stats.
It's just because like Durant's missed so much time, but he's definitely like the best forward in the West, if not the best player. So
right.
But and the other guy in the West too is Cousins, who's missed a ton of time, but when he's played has been a monster. So I think I would go some kind of Durant, Davis, and Cousins.
Yeah. See, if we're going based on just the year, and DeMarcus has played so much more than Durant did. Cousins missed 3 weeks, and Durant missed like 7. And
yeah.
So it'd be tough for me to put Durant there, even though he belongs there. And so if we're just going based off of what they've done this year, like in a large chunk, in the West I'd go Davis, Cousins, Marc Gasol.
Yeah.
But I mean, for starters, that would be weird because you have 2 guys that play the center position there. But like the Durant thing would make more sense.
Well, you could play Cousins with 4
positionally.
Yeah.
But if we're going based on performance this year and large chunks of play, those would be my 3. So Ben in the West.
I can't really disagree much with you. I mean, I think Gasol's been pretty solid all year. I mean, he's been highly sought after, and I know it's not the same in fantasy, but he's been a highly sought after commodity in our fantasy league. And I mean, I think Davis is solid. I think Durant is solid. I mean, I think those 2 are like they're in, period. But I mean, I think you could make an argument for Gasol or Cousins. I mean, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's enough difference to say that either one is by far better than the other.
I think there's one other player that can be thrown into the discussion that nobody said, and that to me I would put him next to Gasol. Is Dwight, and maybe like Dwight really, but like defensively this year he's been strong. Well, his presence down low has been better than it has been in a few years. Like I just think that, and Gasol's not been as good as he was last year. So I like Gasol. I think he's solid because I was going to mention him too. But I think if you mention Gasol, you got to throw Dwight in the mix.
Somebody else I wouldn't mind mentioning too, actually. And I just thought about it because he's on my fantasy team, one, and I just didn't think about it till now until you brought up Dwight for some reason. But DeAndre has been, his field goal percentage this year is ridiculous, and I feel like he's been playing pretty solid all year. He hasn't had many games where he's done anything like real lax, and his defensive stats have been, his blocks have been pretty good all year. He's averaging, let me see, I think he is averaging 2.4 blocks a he's averaging 13 rebounds a game. Like he's playing good basketball all year. So I mean,
Yeah, I think.
I will say this. I don't think. I mean, go ahead, Luke.
Well, I was just gonna say, in the West, it's hard to give any team 3 All-Stars. Like, with as deep as the West is, because you'd have Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan coming for the Clippers. Like, are there other teams in the West that are more deserving of 3 players making it to the All-Star game?
Well, the Warriors,
Yeah.
maybe. And also, like, here's the other thing too. Like, I almost think DeAndre's more deserving All-Star this year than Blake. If we're just looking at this year in consistency, I think Blake started slow and was caught fire the last few weeks. But I think DeAndre, I kind of agree with Ben in the sense that I don't think I would have him as the starter. I don't think he equates with all those people on that list, but I do think he is a legitimate guy to consider for the All-Star team.
Okay, can I mention this real quick?
This year,
how odd it is that over the last 3 weeks, Blake Griffin has kind of become like a facilitator at the elbow.
he did that last year, like big time. Like in the like there were times when Paul was hurt last year, they ran the offense through him.
Yeah, well,
and he can do it.
I'll watch a lot of Clippers games because, first of all, I like watching late games, and because I have Chris Paul on my fantasy team. But they run this weird play all the time where they'll put Griffin at the elbow, and then he'll set a screen, and they'll try to get a switch on Chris Paul so that he can post up a bigger guy but get around him athletically. And Blake Griffin's been kind of weird. He shoots a lot more jump shots than he did even last year. I know that became a part of his game last year, but that was just a little aside. That has nothing to do with the All-Star. Just an observation. So, all right. Well, those are our guys in the West. What about the East? I think the East is where this kind of gets hard.
Yeah.
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 I think you have to go LeBron, obviously, because he's LeBron.
You know what's funny? Is I was thinking about it, and I didn't even consider LeBron. But yeah, he definitely needs to be in there.
I think you have to go Paul Millsap.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't know.
And then I would for that third spot, I'd almost say Powell.
Well, I was thinking between Paul Millsap, Powell, and Bosch.
Yeah, Bosch missed not a huge chunk of time, but he started off the season so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. What about you, Ben?
Yeah. I think they're good. I wonder if Horford belongs in that talk.
Well, Horford.
He's
Horford didn't come on till the last month though. He did not start the year
he's been
at all.
He was probably averaging 12 and 10.
Yeah, but yeah. I guess
Here's the thing. The thing about Horford is he is just consistent, solid team guy, and he does a lot of little things well too. I tell you, the Hawks guy that I think gets no love that should get love is Korver. And,
yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
And yes, I know he is white. I know, but I think he is a really interesting. I don't know. I feel like everybody's they should get 3. They could get 4 in the East this year.
Yeah. That's very true. If anyone's going to get left out, it's going to be Korver. I don't think he deserves to be left out.
But I think Horford deserves maybe more to get left out than Korver.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, realistically, if somebody's going to get left out, it's going to be Korver.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because you got some other okay, go.
Oh
ahead.
no, go ahead. What were you gonna say? Because I was gonna move on to something else.
Well, I was gonna say like you do have like Butler that is kind of the Corver type positionally that I think Butler's over Corver. But I don't know. Yeah.
All right, so
I wonder if like Harkless should replace Corver.
moving on. All right. So, first of all, what's up, Miss Pepper? MZ Pepper. We had someone stop by. Thanks for that follow on Twitch. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to give you two guys, and you have to pick if one of them is going to make the All-Star game. Who's it going to be? All right. So
Easy.
All right.
would you
I like doing this kind of stuff.
would you rather have Kyrie Irving or Brandon Knight?
Okay.
And the plot thickens.
Irving.
Yeah, Irving.
See, the only reason it would become a conversation to me is because, again, Brandon Knight consistently, and Kyrie has his stretches of where he kind of disappears. Brandon Knight doesn't have the option really to disappear where he's at, whereas Kyrie plays among other stars. But yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Is that why he disappears?
Are you asking if Kyrie disappears because he plays around other stars?
I'm just saying, does he disappear because he can't? He has to have the ball, and when you play with LeBron, like LeBron has to have the ball. So he's not going to be a spot up shooter.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So I think Kyrie's really good. I think Brandon Knight has been very good too this year. And maybe that thinking comes more in our thoughts or concepts of who those guys are, but I don't know. I didn't really think about it that hard. Like Kyrie was the answer.
Yeah. I agree.
What about Kyrie or D Wade?
Oh, Kyrie.
I'm sorry. I meant Brandon Knight or D Wade.
See, I'd go Knight.
I'd go Knight there. Yeah. I just don't think Wade's been
decent. I think he's been better than he's been the last 2 years.
Compared to, I'd take Knight over him though.
Yeah, I would too.
Okay, and this is just. What about Melo or D Wade?
Wade.
Melo.
I'd take Wade.
I think I'd take Melo.
Okay, let's do some in the West. Timmy Duncan or Klay Thompson?
Klay Thompson.
See, I don't think that one's as easy
It's
as
like people who don't play the same position.
What's that?
It's hard when people don't play the same position, but I think Thompson.
Yeah.
I think that's easy. I feel like Timmy D's a lot more. I know. Duncan's awesome. I love Duncan, but I feel like he's just so much older, and that's injury right there. Age with age comes injury, and even though he's been solid, he does have knee problems.
Did he miss much time because of injuries? Has he missed more time because of just rest?
Yeah, I think it's probably more
he
due to
missed
rest.
a lot of rest time because his pop is like crazy with rest. But
as much as I love Duncan, I think there's a couple forwards that I would consider DeAndre over him too. But again, I like Duncan a ton.
I'm just really big on athletic forwards, and I feel like that's why I would take DeAndre over Duncan.
Again, we were talking about Klay Thompson, but I moved us in that direction. So my apologies, MC.
Okay, one last one. Oh crap! I just had it and I lost it. It was going to be. And again, this isn't the same position, so it's going to be hard. But we talked about Corver already. Corver or Vucevic?
Corver.
Ben?
I mean, yeah, that was a little harder for me.
The reason I would say
I don't
Corver.
know, dude.
What's that?
I think I would say Vucevic, and I'll say why. I mean, I think he may not be this year, but I think he is an all-star caliber player, and I think he is more so than Corver is.
Well, he's definitely an all-star
Only
caliber
in so
player
much
this year.
as-
He's putting up huge numbers, but the thing is Corver has done what he has done in the midst of 3 other all-star caliber players. Like what he has been doing is, while it is, which he does different things than, Al Horford and Paul Millsap, but his game is still shining through, even around those guys who are going to make the All-Star game.
Oh, and I agree. And I mean, I think he's playing good defensively this year. I mean, I think Corver's, which is something that I don't know that. I mean, I hadn't followed Corver a ton the past few years, but I mean, I don't know if he's been playing great defensively the past few years or not. But the thing with Corver for me is he's going to get you threes. Like he's a shooter, big time. And I mean, I feel like he's got enough size to where he can contest some rebounds and things. But I don't know. Like I feel like Vucevic's got a decent mid-range game. I mean, he's got a good inside game. I mean, he knows how to use his size well, and he's fairly athletic for a stretch guy. So I mean, I think he's just in terms of like all-around package. I think Corver's a better. Like if I wanted to have points, I think Corver's a better player as far as just scoring wise. But overall, I feel like Vucevic's just a better option.
I will say this: I disagree with that fully. I think Corver does everything well.
I can't hear you.
I said I disagree. I think Corver does everything well, and has done it for a long time well. But I also will say this: I've never watched an Orlando Magic game. They are like one of the worst teams in the world to watch. And I think Vucevic puts up great stat lines, but that team is horrible. And I think I could maybe put up double-digit rebounds for that team.
You'd also put up a lot of 3 seconds balls.
Y'all
Yeah,
breaking
'cause
up
I
pretty
was
bad.
playing.
Okay,
But
moving
now-
on, because we're going,
Y'all breaking up pretty terrible.
because it's getting late. So last segment here, the will they be traded segment. We're coming up on the deadline here after the All-Star break, and so I'm gonna throw out a name. You're gonna say if you think they're gonna be traded, and then just very quickly a scenario, teams that you think they may be going to. So Les, one that me and you have spent plenty of time discussing, Reggie Jackson.
I think they need to move him, but to where, I don't know. Milwaukee would be interesting right now. Detroit, like you talked about. I'll leave it at that. But yes, they need to move him, and quickly.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I think he needs to flourish some. I mean, I feel like he has the potential to flourish somewhere better than he is. I mean, OKC helped. They did well in having him this year since Westbrook went down early, and they were lucky to have him to fill in that void. But I feel like he's a starter, in my opinion, and I think he needs to go somewhere where he can start and
Here's a couple.
be that to another team.
I'll say this:
I don't know where.
if I'm a contender, I see him as a third guard. Like I don't. I think his role that he's been playing for them is where he will flourish. I don't know. I think he could be a starting point guard. I don't see him flourishing in that role everywhere. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't see him flourishing that. I don't see him flourishing in that role everywhere. But I mean, there's certain situations I feel like he'd be good in.
Yeah, I don't think.
Like you
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you put him on that Bucks team, and he's their first guard off the bench. I think he does well with shooting all around him. But again, like if you do move him to Detroit, like is he he could be decent with Detroit too.
Yeah, Detroit.
I mean, I just think like a team that likes to run, like a team that likes to like I feel like he'd be great somewhere like that, like somewhere who likes to push tempo. And I feel like he'd do he'd flourish there.
Well, here's the thing: point guards are a dime a dozen in the NBA. Like places he could go and start. And
Yeah.
and OKC's not going to trade him to a contender. In the West, at least. You know, I think they know what they have in the talent level of Reggie Jackson. For some reason, Scott Brooks has forgotten that he's a pretty decent option to play off the ball next to Westbrook. But there's no doubt in my mind he gets traded. He's in the doghouse. Like they immediately brought in waiters and started giving him big minutes off the bench. And Jackson was reduced to 11, 12 minutes a game. He's getting traded. But the question is to who. And OKC doesn't care one lick about picks. They never have. And for them, it's going to be about setting themselves up in a position to win, to compete this year and next year in the hopes to keep Durant around with going into free agency in 2016. So, you got to look at teams that can send them back what it is that they need. And what they need is a big. What they need is somebody who can play in Kendrick Perkins' spot and find a suitable partner who could maybe take Jackson and Perkins in the same thing and then them get a big guy back. And
I love the Lopez trade for them.
And I don't know, and I guess, you wanted to talk about the whole Nets thing, with Lionel Hollins and them stepping back and trying to evaluate all this, and it's like, you're holding on to Brook Lopez and you're struggling to deal him, but he's coming off your bench. You're playing Mason Plumlee in front of him. And that's fine if you have that much faith in Plumlee being the guy who's going to play center for you in the future. But when you've got a deal that's going to bring expirings to you and get Brook Lopez's contract out of your hair and possibly save you from super high luxury tax, why not take that deal? And so there's got to be a miscommunication happening between management and Lionel Hollins in that situation. Because
here's the problem there. Billy King is a stinking moron and doesn't deserve to ever be a GM. He may not even deserve to be a busboy at a restaurant. He is terrible.
When you've got,
he's almost as bad as Scott Brooks is as a coach. Maybe they should join forces and create a mega team.
When you've got people willing to send you expirings and significantly lower contracts for guys that aren't producing to their value, when you got people trying to take Joe Johnson off you and Brook Lopez, and you're like, we're going to stay put now while we're in the basement of the Eastern Conference, I completely agree with you. But Jackson there would be interesting. I still think Jackson in Detroit would be interesting. It would be a salary thing to have to work out there. But if they could send Monroe, get Jackson back, get Perkins along with that deal, who is nowhere near as
3-teamer.
make it a 3-teamer.
Yeah. But hey, with one team, one other team that would be really fun to see him on would be the Knicks.
Yeah, I would love to see him next to Travis Ware. You're right.
I just think like he would get to do everything there.
Yeah. He's going to get dealt. It's going to be really interesting to see who steps up to the plate. Because, I can name more teams that OKC won't trade him to than I can that they will. And all right, how about Lance Stevenson? You guys there?
I think it depends on. Yeah. I think it depends on if they plan on bringing anybody else in. Like, I don't know if you get rid of him. But he's kind of been a dud this year. He's had good.
He hasn't kind of been a dud. He's been a dud. Played. He hasn't had good games.
Yeah.
He has sucked all year.
I mean, he was okay. He was okay, like the beginning of the season.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't playing down the stretch.
Okay, I stress the word okay. I stress the word okay, though. I don't say. I mean, good is not.
He was sitting. He was sitting on the bench for the final 12 minutes of every game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
what are they paying him? What is he making?
$9 million.
Yeah, I think that's a good reason to go ahead and try to do that. I mean, that's money that they don't need to be spending.
I don't think it's a terrible contract. I mean, he needs to be on a team with shooting around him, and he's not on that team right now. But I always feel like Jordan makes these moves, and he waits forever to come off of them. So I don't think he'll get traded. But I
also feel like he really likes Stevenson too.
Well, he made that pretty clear when they signed him.
Yeah.
He was really excited about bringing him in, and a lot of people were. I think they were totally shocked when the Gordon Hayward thing fell through, and Utah matched, and they were like, had no idea they were going to give him that much money, because it was like a mutual, we both want each other kind of thing between them and Gordon Hayward. And then when Utah matched over the summer, they were like, okay, what's out there and available? And there's Stevenson floating around, and the whole reason he's floating around is because Larry Bird is like, you're not worth $13.5 million a year. We're going to let you go find that out on the market. And Charlotte scoops him up at $9 million, which isn't a bad price for the potential that he has, but for what he's been giving you, obviously he hasn't been worth that $9 million. But I still hold out hope that Stevenson can be good in the right situation. I find it a little odd that he has said over and over again that he wants to try to make it work in Charlotte, because when you watch him on the court, he doesn't really seem like he wants to. And hasn't really taken the time to learn the offense. Doesn't seem to put out a ton of effort. Bill Simmons always talks about body language guys. He's a terrible body language guy. Okay, It's going to take a certain situation for a team to even want him at this point, for his reputation in the locker room and him not producing,
well,
to his potential.
And on the court too. I mean,
what's that?
And on the court. I mean, on the court too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I don't know if I want a guy blowing in people's ears.
Well, I don't care about that. I don't want a guy who's going to shoot the ball 22 times a game and only shoot 30%.
Yeah.
The whole deal with the Nets falling through for them, because Joe Johnson would have been interesting in Charlotte. But that whole deal falling through was that was maybe the only situation, unless the Pacers come back and are like, we'll take a flyer on it. We're kind of sitting on the outside. Paul George may be able to come back for the last month of the year, and we may be able to make some noise in the playoffs with Stevenson, Paul George, and a washed-up Roy Hibbert.
What if this might be a stretch? But what if the Clippers made a run at him, something centered around Crawford?
I feel like the Clippers are kind of like Ben when it comes to Jamal Crawford. Where they're like,
team.
when you're on, we love you. But
Yeah.
But he, there's the nights where he doesn't do much. But that'd be interesting. There's some cap discrepancy still there.
Yeah.
So they'd have to send a piece. I'm trying to think of another team. Because, see, he's going to have to go somewhere where he can come off the bench and look around at a situation and be like, okay, it makes sense that I'm coming off the bench.
Yeah.
I have no clue where he could go.
I just feel like he's got too much, like, because I don't know if any.
I'm sorry, I was interrupting you, Ben.
Oh, no, you're good. I don't know if there's. I don't know if there's anywhere that he'd be okay with coming off the bench. Like now, and I think he's got just his pride, and his abilities. And I don't know if he'd really want. I don't know. I had a point somewhere, but I lost it.
What if Cleveland traded for him and they're like, we just really want to see J.R. Smith and Lance Stevenson on the same team and watch the universe implode.
and they trade for waiters back.
we want the most inefficient team to ever exist. We're bringing Andre Drummond in.
They're gonna sign Austin Rivers.
Yeah, I have no clue. What were you gonna say about it, Les?
I was just gonna say if Indiana made a swap and was like, we'll give you West for Stevenson, and they just let Stevenson do everything for them the rest of the year.
Yeah. Knowing that they're not gonna have to pay him any more than $9 million next year. I'm telling you, man. I totally agree with Bill Simmons. This was the plan all along.
Yeah.
Because right now, Charlotte's having to learn the market for Stevenson. And see, we're going to be getting back pennies on the dollar for this guy. That Joe Johnson deal was the best thing they were going to get. And so I think at this point, if the Pacers come and they're like, we'll give you an expiring David West for your Lance Stevenson, you jump on that in a heartbeat.
And if I'm the Pacers, I'm trying to pry a pick.
Yeah. It depends on how volatile it is in that locker room right now.
Yeah.
So, all right. What about Wilson Chandler, a guy who trade rumors kind of swirled for a while and then they died down. And now they're picking back up again.
Yeah, he's getting moved.
Yeah, I think they know that Danilo Gallinari is kind of where they want to go if he can stay healthy. I think Chandler's playing the best basketball he's played in a while there right now, and so they can kind of sell high on him. But the most logical suitor in the beginning for them was Houston, but then they went and got Corey Brewer. And so they're kind of out of it. So you think he's going to get traded. Who do you think he's going to get traded to?
I tell you, I don't know if he'd get traded to a team that could use him, and there's kind of this management connection is Toronto.
Yeah. For who?
you could probably do something if you want to give up on Terrence Ross, which I would, and maybe like Amir Johnson.
Yeah.
Although I know they like Amir.
Well, and they've already like vehemently denied that they're going to try to move Ross before the deadline.
Yeah, but no, who cares?
Yeah.
I think that I think Toronto needs a piece like that. Another team would be Portland. I don't think they have a piece that's interesting to give up, other than if people believe CJ McCollum could be interesting, but I don't see him having a place minutes-wise, like in the last 5 minutes of the game there.
Yeah. Well, and it's weird because they're...
I wonder too with them.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, go ahead and say what you're saying, because my point's a little bit different.
The weird thing about that team is how much Jameer's playing for them.
Yeah.
And so, like, and there's just no telling what the whole. Like, they got Brian Shaw. There's no telling what they'd want back for Wilson Chandler.
Yeah.
Within it, and then even
team,
how whatever they got back was going to be utilized. But I think he's going to get traded. I think the best opportunity for that was with Houston. It's a good thing he's playing well right now. And I don't really know who he could go to that it would be interesting.
OKC, Phoenix. I think there's a lot of teams he would be interesting on.
And I wonder,
Clippers.
if they. I wonder when they go to move him if they try to package Flalo in that. 'Cause I wonder how long they want to hang on to him. I mean, he hasn't had a great year at all this year. And I wonder if they're looking to keep him, or if they're gonna. I mean, if they want to try to move on to greener pastures.
I tell you what,
If Chandler gets traded to Phoenix, does he play center for them?
they would probably try to play him there.
They're like, we're going Dragic, Thomas, Bledsoe, Gerald Green, Wilson Chandler. There's our starting five.
Gosh, and then Phoenix trades Orlando for Channing Frye.
Yeah, you keep living in that
Orlando
pipe dream that anyone is going to want to take on that crappy contract. But what were you going to say, Les?
Two things. I've always thought OKC, if they could get a Flalo or Chandler, would be a game changer. But then they were like, oh, we love waiters. Like, I don't understand it. But again, if Jackson was your third guard off that bench in Denver, that'd be fun. But if you could do a Jackson and Perkins for Flalo and Chandler, would be, because you would have so many interesting things you could do with your front court then, with Adams as your five, but you could rotate with Ibaka and Chandler and Durant. Like, I don't know, like that would make them tough, and I don't think they have enough to give up for him, but just get the assets. To me, if Flalo and Chandler, which are both expiring contracts, would be really helpful for Oklahoma City, who right now is struggling to even get in the playoff picture.
Yeah. Well, and if it's anything like the way the West ended last year, it's like you can go on a 6-game winning streak and not move in the standings.
Yeah.
Like, so they're going to have to do. They're getting close to the point where they're going to have to do something drastic if they keep hovering around that 3 or 4 games out of the playoff picture. Because here's the thing, like even if you squeak in at 8, are you going to want to take on Golden State? Like,
if I'm Golden State, I do not want to play Oklahoma City.
well, yeah, I'd much rather play Phoenix.
I don't care.
You know,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, OKC's going to have to make some moves to. It's going to have to be drastic here soon if they keep hovering around. All right, the last name on the list, Thad Young. Does he get traded?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. You give your thinking behind it first.
Well, I think they like him with that team and with the young guys they have. I think he's a good complement beside Pekovic, which I don't know if Pekovic retired or not. I really don't know. But I like him next to Pekovic with the young guys. I think the other thing is too, like, he's put up big stat lines the last like week and a half, 2 weeks, and that's kind of what you expected from them. So I don't know, like bringing Rubio back, like I like Thad Young, and he's another guy who he'd be interesting on a lot of teams. But I think he kind of fits what Minnesota wants to do.
Yeah. I think looking at the body of work that he's had this season, it's been underwhelming to what they expected that they were going to get. And that's on a team that doesn't really have a ton that they can look to score with, which, I mean, Rubio's not a scorer, Peck's not a scorer, but like, the reason that you bring in a Thad Young is to be a stretch four and to score for you, like, and so if teams look and say, you know, it took him up until the last 2 weeks to figure out how to score on this team where there's every shot in the universe available for him, like, you're selling for pennies on the dollar for that. And just because this is
too with them.
What's that?
Well, they've not had a point.
Yeah.
I feel like he's been playing well since Mo Williams has been being more the primary ball handler.
Right.
So I don't know. I think there's some things with him, like, if you get him for pennies on the dollar, great. But if I'm in Minnesota, I want to see him with Rubio. I want to see him with Kevin Martin.
Yeah, and that was my point to say that's why they're not going to trade him, because in the last 2 weeks they've seen, like, this is who this guy can be. We don't even have our best player back, or, you know, one of our best players back in Rubio, and then it's like, well, if we trade Thad Young, are they going to play Dang next to Vucevic, or are they going to be like, all right, we're just going to roll with Bennett?
Sure, yeah.
And I think that Young can be a part of this team in the future, and so I don't see them selling on him right now, because as bad as that team is, like, Wiggins has been playing really well as of late. Thad Young is turning it back on. Georgie Dang has been great this year. You're locked into Pekovic for an insane amount of time, but, you know, they have a lot of faith in Rubio, and they're putting guys around him where he's not going to have to be the guy who can get to the basket or hit a mid-range jump shot. You know, like, he's just going to be able to do what he does. Right. And Bennett doesn't give you that. And playing Dang next to Pekovic doesn't do that. I think I said Vucevic earlier. I meant Peck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. I like Thad next to Pekovic. A little more athletic. That's it.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, it's late, and that's all we've got for this week. I'm going to put this up on YouTube at some point in the next day or so, and we'll try to get together pretty regularly and do this again. You can follow Ben, Ben's Twitch channel at WhoBombTrady. I don't think my brother does any social media at all. And then you can follow. What's that?
I do social media. It's called Sim Build It. Maybe you've heard of it.
And you can find us.
Come check me out. Come check me out. Come check me out at my city called Better.
And you can anyway. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/Player3Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Player3Podcast. We will. You'll see some of us on Monday on our weekly episode of P3P.